Did I ever tell you about there's a YouTube video that's like some guy reviewing toys, and he has a video where he reviews a Dobby toy like from Harry Potter, and he's like making I'm trying to remember what the context was exactly. Oh yeah, I did tell you this. Yeah, I've definitely told you because I'm remembering messing up the story before. He did a Dobby toy one that I was like, that's hilarious, and then he did a Dumbledore one where he kept calling Dumbledore Dumbledorf, and it just never addressed it. And someone in the comments was like, "What the fuck, man? Why do you keep calling it Dumbledore?" And his comment reply was just my new favorite thing to say when people get mad at you, which is, "You'll be all right."
I do remember that.
You'll be all right.
I do.
Yeah. So good. I wish I could be that powerful.
You'll be all right.
And so we begin. There is a hole in your mind. What do you want?
No one here is exactly what he appears.
Nothing's the same anymore.
Commander Sinclair is being reassigned.
Why don't you eliminate the entire non-homo?
I see a great hand reaching out of the stars.
Who are
President Clark has signed a decree today declaring
These
martial
orders
law.
have forced us to declare independence.
That's why people get off their encounter-suited butts and do something.
You are the one who was to Zahadu who will die.
Why are you here? Do you have anything worth living for?
Think of my beautiful city of flames.
Giants in the playground.
Get the hell out of our galaxy!
We are here to place President Clark under arrest.
Hello and welcome to Chats the Television Podcast, Season 6, Chatzylon 5. My name is Alan, and I'm joined by a BC FMO, my baby carriage filtration man, obviously. It's Magellan.
Yeah, so it looks like you got a clog back here on oh man, if I knew what these were called, I could have done a smooth joke. Oh, the mobile.
Sure.
Yeah, it's the planets, but it's clogged up. You gotta filter that.
I always offer you the second chance. Like, you can do the intro again if you want, but isn't it more fun when we just kind of stumble into...
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just trying to help you get your baby carriage clean.
Now, you see, listener, this is Magellan committing to a bit, which is really it's a high-level comedy technique.
I don't know what you're talking about, because honestly, the only thing I know is baby carriages and filtration.
That's like that Hemingway poem, right? Baby carriage never worn for sale.
Well, that's why they didn't wear it, because it wasn't filtered properly, and I'm trying to help you avoid that situation.
Well, thanks, Joey. Can I have your son back, Magellan?
Yeah, you can have my son. Hey, get in here. Yeah,
Whoa.
Oh, you beautiful little man. Oh, look at you. Oh, give me those cheeks. This is what happens when you filter your baby carriages. You're going to get a nice big boy who's got a great smile.
Uh-huh. Which cheeks did he pinch?
The face cheeks, you gross. What, am I going to pinch his butt cheeks and then go work on filters? That's not sanitary.
But they're baby carriage filters. They're already covered in butt cheek all the time.
I'll give you a little spank before I leave. Ow, Dad.
Stop.
Oh, golly. Hey, Alan.
Hi, Magellan. Welcome back to Chats.
Speaking of committing to a bit, today at work, somebody at the copier was like, "Oh, do you know where the paper is?" And I was like, "Yeah, let me show you." And I got up to show them, and it's like you had to go down the hall, and it's in boxes at the bottom of the stairwell. And as I was walking, I was like, "It's at the bottom of the stairs." And then he was like, "Oh, I know where it is," but I'd already committed to having gotten up. So I decided I'm just going to follow him and keep explaining where the paper is.
Oh my gosh.
Past the point of it being like, is he being condescending?
Yeah.
Until it was so obviously a joke that he would laugh and I could leave. Mm-hmm. So it took me all the way to him opening the box and looking at the paper and me saying... Yeah, so if you're looking for the paper, it's right. You see in here inside the box with where the paper is. This is where the paper is. And then he cracked up laughing, and I was like, okay, good, great. I stuck with it long enough that I wasn't a jerk. You sent me a photo on Skype. What's going on?
That's the key to comedy, right? Is not sending each other photos. I was sending Magellan as my new Halloween variant of my icon that I use everywhere. It's Bulma from Dragon Ball Z, or Bulma from Dragon Ball. I made that in Photoshop in 10 minutes, and I'll post it on the Twitter for people if they want.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, isn't it cute? I gave her a little fangy too.
Yeah, give people the access to that, please.
To fangy or to this picture?
To the fangy in the picture. I feel like you're asking me an SAT question right now.
I am asking an SAT question. If a train passes by you at 600 miles an hour, what did we watch this week, Magellan?
Well, Alan, this week we watched 2 episodes of Babylon 5, as we always do. First, this is messing me up because I don't normally do this.
Would you like me to do it?
No, it's okay. You're messing with the formula.
Intentionally.
First, we watched season 5, episode 7, Secrets of the Soul. And then we watched season 5, episode 8, Day of the Dead. And first we'll discuss Secrets of the Soul. It was written by J. Michael Straczynski, directed by Tony Dow. It aired March 4th, 1998, and it takes place from May 25th to May 28th. Tays
on day 2262.
It takes place from May 25th to May 28th of 2262. Alan, what happened in Secrets of the Soul?
Oh, buddy. So this episode.
Who is that? Who's that friend?
Oh, buddy. Hello. Welcome to my show.
Oh, what are you going to filter for me?
Adult carriages.
Oh, finally.
I'm the guy who fixes the weird extra fourth wheel on the supermarket carriage that always squeaks. I'm very bad at my job. In this episode, Lita becomes closer to Byron and the colony of telepaths. Boo! While Franklin investigates a secret from the Hayek race's distant past. Yay!
Boo!
No, don't boo that. That's the best part in this episode, Magellan. What did you think of Secrets of the Soul?
So did you say last week that you heard it was good?
Yeah, well, I heard that some stuff happens. Like, it kept coming up in, like, lore talk about, like, oh, man, Secrets of the Soul really, like, changes the way you think about a lot of stuff. And I was like, what can that mean? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing?
What is it changing the way I think about? The stuff at the end? With
apparently.
telepaths?
I mean, that's what I understand, yeah.
Okay. I enjoyed watching it. I think there's stuff in it that's not great. But there's also stuff in it that is pretty fun. I don't know. It's sort of it depends on where we want to start here. You want to start with the Franklin plot because I feel like it's pretty self-contained.
Yeah, it's very self-contained and it's just kind of straightforward, at least mostly, until it twists on its spins on its head a little bit.
Yeah.
Franklin is talking to Apak Mara at the beginning of the episode, and he gives it a special milk, and the guy's like, "This wasn't on the meal plan," and he's like, "Drink it anyways." And then the Apak Mara like barfs milk drink all over the window.
Oh, I don't like that milk.
I don't like the milk. It's not good milk. And now we're watching Franklin settle into his new job. He's got a new job where he gets all the different aliens to talk to him and to see what he can learn and what records he can gain from them, to further study them and research how they will interact with other races. Mm-hmm. The first race he talks to, the Hayek, he asks them for their genetic records. He meets a person who's in the Hayek. Named Selma. And her attaché.
Selma Hayek.
I got it. Hey, wow, that's pretty good.
Thank you.
Like, usually... No, that's good.
Yeah, it sounds like you didn't get it then.
No, I got it. Hayek. Selma Hayek.
Great.
Ambassador Miziri Tal and her attaché Kirin is basically like, hey, he's asking them, hey, can I get your genetic records? And they rightfully are like, hey, we have concerns about privacy. What if bad people try to take these and use them against our people for biological warfare?
Fair.
Yeah, it's very valid. Weirdly prescient for people worried about concerns in like healthcare right now, where we don't want to, help the rest of the world create a better database because we're afraid that the government's going to steal our data. That's just something I've seen in my path, at least. But Franklin basically assures them by saying that he's a doctor. It's his job to keep those records safe. If anyone gets the password wrong even once, the whole thing deletes itself, which...
that is a bad system.
That's a very bad system. If you're just like, let's see, the password, because there's a funny password I think later in the second episode. In the
second episode.
God, we'll talk about that. But imagine typing that thing wrong and being like, Zoe is dad. Fuck. No, God. Oh no.
Even just our shared password for our chat stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I try to type it, I forget whether that particular version had the first letter capitalized or not.
Exactly. It's one of those. Wow, now thanks for telling people, by the way, that we use the same password for everything. We're going to get doxxed.
But we use different versions of it with slight variations.
That's so true. I forgot.
And nobody knows what it is.
Yet. Wink.
I've literally given people no information. Everybody uses the same password for everything.
That's true. And the most popular password is password, so we're fine.
Yeah. And our password is P@55W0RD ? So we're good.
Pass. Oh, good. I got it. I was assembling it like it was. When I was a kid, I would read the Bionicle books, and they would have like a key for the. They'd have a key for the
circular letters with the lines and the circles on it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I would write my diary for a couple days. I tried writing it in that language.
Those letters take so long to form.
I know, it's a bad language. It's like meant for what I did it with it, which is like you're gonna write secrets, not like you. It's not an actual written language.
Yeah.
But anyways, Franklin is like, I would die before I would let anybody get your records. Like that's part of my whole thing.
Right.
He's curious about the Hayek, and he can tell that they're hiding something because they're being weirdly cagey with their data. And also, he looks them up and learns that their race is relatively new. They're only a couple hundred years old. Mm-hmm. He's like, wait a minute, why? What's everyone else is like thousands of years old? Why are you guys like brand new?
Especially because they claim that they are thousands of years old.
Right, and then he actually does the searching and finds out that they're lying. So he's worrying about that, and then he learns of a term called the Hayek-Do. And there's a dumb part, I think, when he's asking... Oh, this is at the beginning, when he's asking them, like, hey, can you... Because we were talking about like the cinematography and how dumb it is sometimes. Yeah. Like, can you guys share our data? And then the attaché is like, as he leaves, it's like, but if he betrays us, we will kill him.
And it's this like slow zoom, and she's looking into the camera.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to look into the camera for something like this.
God, that was stupid.
It's fantastic. It's really good and not at all.
There was some not great directing in this episode,
especially in this plot line, right? Because there's the part after this where he's learning about the Hayek-Do, and then someone says, "Do as I tell you or die," and it's just like the camera freezes, and then we cut to black, and it's the most awkward cut to black.
It's like a fade to black as they're walking out of frame.
Yes,
it looks bad. And then there's we'll talk about the other plot in a bit.
Yeah,
but then there's a part where Zach Allen comes out from around the corner to arrest Byron.
Yeah,
but it's all just in this one static wide shot. So Zach Allen like whips around from around the corner like he's in a community theater production of Babylon 5 and he's like freeze, but it doesn't look good at all. Anyway, there's just a lot of overly spooky cheesiness happening in the Franklin plotline. The music is so hammy. I don't know. Here's what I appreciate.
What do you appreciate?
This feels like where Franklin's character needed to go.
Definitely.
Him to have an important job. I wish they'd done this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad that he has an important gig. And I'm glad that we're back to the sort of season 1 approach to Franklin of he's got his own medical thing going on so that we can explore the xenobiology side of sci-fi that other characters can't really address. It's sort of a bummer that he's not really interacting with anybody else in the main cast.
Right. It makes it feel like he's on a different show.
It was nice when he had Marcus sometimes to be the guy bouncing off of him. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think that's a sort of cost of... At the very beginning of when we covered Babylon 5, we made comparisons to how they do ensemble, or about how they do ensemble to a show like Farscape. Mm-hmm. Where on Farscape, because they have different interests or different characters or whatever, but everybody's crammed on Moya. And so you could have an episode where John Crichton hangs out with Tsukozu or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just can happen. You can put any 2 characters together you want because all you have to show is the scene where they start on Moya and then they're like, okay, we're going to go do this. But on Babylon 5, the ensemble is much looser and everybody has very specific jobs. Mm-hmm. So you have to go through more narrative justification to explain, like, okay, here's why these two characters are hanging out. And I think as a result of that, we might see Franklin have more plots where he's just sort of doing his own thing.
Right, which is mostly fine, right? It does come at the cost. It does come at the cost of seeing him interact with other characters, and we like the rest of the cast, but I don't really have a good answer if someone was like, what does Delenn think about Franklin? I don't know because they haven't really hung out that much.
Right.
But,
and I think the cost of it is just that sometimes, Richard Biggs, I think, is a pretty good actor. I enjoy watching him, but it means that sometimes he's going to get put into these plots with, like, if he doesn't do what we want, we will kill him. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Our planet is a geriocracy. Old people rule us. Blah, 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 blah. It's kind of silly shit that doesn't really rise to the level of seriousness that I want to see Franklin involved in.
Yeah, but what it does allow is for him to have these more personal moments with the side cast.
True.
So he learns that the Hayek-Do is it's a parallel race of people. They're basically the closest comparison I remembered was The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, where they have the Morlocks and the not Morlocks, like the nice people on the same planet. And the whole thing is like they're both bad for each other, but they also both like keep each other in check. And what happened was that the Hayeks and the Hayek-Do were intermarrying for a while. And I love that this is just the show telling you, like, hey, and then history happened. Because it's like, and then it was morally wrong. And then it was religiously wrong. And then it was legally wrong. Because that's how history works, is like religion often informs policy whether or not it intends to. So once it became illegal, they started fighting more. And eventually the Hayek eliminated the Hayek-Do entirely. And they thought that they were good for a while. And then after hundreds and hundreds of more years, they realized, oh, wait, they were important to us, like them existing, we had to keep each other in check. And so now we're on a time limit, basically.
Yeah, their DNA is like deteriorating or something.
Exactly.
Like that. Yeah, we don't even have to go to other fiction to see a comparison. Franklin draws the comparison of, it's like Homo sapiens and Cro-Magnon.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know. I was wondering how you felt about Franklin's decision here at the end. So they try to threaten him and say, like, don't tell anybody anything. And they're like, okay, you figured it out. Here's the deal. And then they say, okay, so over the course of several hundred years, sure, we committed a genocide of the Hayek-Do. Okay, you caught us.
Sue us.
And then, okay. And then we tried to cover it up and all that. But we're dying, and we really would like to not be dying. So can you help us, please? And Franklin says, no, I don't want to. I'm not going to do it. You blame us for the Hayek-Do dying? Yeah, you tried to hide it, so you're an accomplice to this horrible crime.
So it's, to answer your question,
how do you feel about that?
Yeah. I think it's cool that the show is using Franklin now and his character development to say something about history and about humanity, which is like the best thing that sci-fi can do, right? Is it can reflect back at us exactly what we're seeing. Because what he says is, because they're like, oh, it's not our fault. Like, people from hundreds of years ago destroyed each other. Like, we didn't actually individually do that. We weren't even born yet. We weren't even conceived of when this was already dictated into history. And then he says the line that definitely feels like he might as well be looking at the camera, which is, you're an accomplice in the ills of your history by rewriting the narrative. Which actually, no, that don't. Yeah, not an exact quote, but that's ostensibly what he's getting at, where he's just like, you guys are by not talking about this, you're exactly as at fault as the people, your ancestors.
And maybe you're not as at fault, but you are at fault.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that was the part that really gave me chills, was he's having this like dark realization that like, I could keep helping you guys, but like you're just continuing a narrative that you started so long ago that you're not really going to fix anymore. You can't fix anymore.
Yeah.
If they lived longer, then they would live longer, but they can't like fix the ills of the past. I think this is weirdly a better like race and history metaphor than like anything the telepath stuff is actually doing.
Yeah, right.
Which is coincidental that these are in the same episode, but because it's it feels like American history, right? The way we talk about like I wasn't bad, like I didn't own slaves.
I was
like,
gonna say
it's the reparations argument, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I was gonna make that comparison that when I talk about reparations in my class and bring up, what are the standard counter arguments? It's the kind of stuff that conservative folks, but not exclusively conservative. Like I think some left leaning folks would say this too, of like, well, yeah, I wasn't there, or you can't hold me responsible for the sins of my father, sins of my grandfather, sins of my great grandfather.
Yeah.
And Franklin's counter argument is like, well, but you're complicit in. It's slightly different because, we're still living with racial inequity in a lived way. But essentially, yeah, it's the same idea of like, you're ashamed, but you're also not doing anything to correct it, and you're actively engaging in this sort of like this collective denial process. That it's not healing. That's not atonement of any kind.
It's just surviving past it.
Right. The thing that I don't know. I didn't really believe that this would be Franklin's choice.
Mm-hmm.
Because it feels very not doctorly of him.
Yeah, like he's emphasized so often this priority of life. Like people who can live should live. Right.
And now he's actively saying like, I could help more of your people live, but I will not.
Well, then I can ask you this question. Do you think if he was like, I'm going to let you live, would that lessen the message that he's saying about like, you guys are still culpable? Does that like lessen that message? I don't know. Yeah, I guess not.
I don't think so. Maybe it does. I don't think so. Because I think he's still saying it, but he also, the thing that's the most important is his integrity as a doctor and his commitment to the Hippocratic Oath. And I think that if he knows that the population is decreasing, or the birth rate is decreasing steadily every year, and he knows that there's something he could do about it, and he chooses not to, there's blood on his hands.
Yeah, it's a heavy decision. It feels like a very like, oh man, they're committing to this. This is a big deal. Yeah. Right. And so I think it's fascinating then to parallel that to, if you're okay with transitioning to talking about the other plot of this episode,
let's do it.
Which drops a world-altering reveal that also at the same time feels so neutered. It feels so like, okay. And it's partly like the difference is like, I did not expect the reveal of the Hayek and the Hayek dough, but getting the reveal of the telepaths being created by the Vorlons, you're like, all right, yeah.
Well, we already knew that.
Yeah, right. That was what I was going to ask you. Was so to get into it, the telepath plot of this episode concerns more violence being committed against telepaths by humans mundanes on the ship. Zach is trying to figure things out, but he basically is worried about all these telepaths who just keep coming on. They have this weird like immigration scene at the beginning where these people are like, there's this man who's stuttering, who's like, his name is Peter. He's like, I'm a telepath, and we were told that Byron is here. Byron is a good guy. We want to be with him. We were told he keeps telepaths here. And then Zach gets mad and is like, Byron, like, how many people do you get to bring on here? And Byron basically claps back and is like, I get to bring on as many people as I want to. Like, that was our agreement. It's fine. Yeah. My people are my people. There's not enough finite number of them. I didn't give you a number. Zach immediately goes to Lita, the love of his life, and he's just racist.
Yeah, he literally says "you people," and he says "stop hanging around with those people," and
he can't get past that language, right?
Yeah.
It's this stuff that bums me out with the rest of the telepath plot, because like they are clearly going for some sort of racial minority mutant metaphor. Paralleling stuff like X-Men and all that stuff, where it is like weaving in and out of the way that we talk about this stuff historically, but also using a fantastical perspective to make it a little bit more palatable. And to be honest, to be a little bit critical, this makes it like it makes them less responsible to handle it well. Because it's like, well, guys, it's not actually a race metaphor because minorities don't have psychic powers, and it's like,
yeah, right.
So, anyways, Byron, being the Christ-like figure that he's immediately making himself out to be, is in the down below, and there's a guy who's like, hey, I hate your people. You guys suck. And he's like, all right, hit me. And the guy's like, all right, I'm going to hit you. And he punches him, and he's like, all right, man, do it again. Guy punches him again. He's like, how many punches is it going to take before you feel good about how much you're punching me? Before it feels like it's worth it? And the guy's like, you're weird.
This was the one scene that I've seen Byron in where I was like, okay, I like this.
Right, because it's just a bummer that this scene is completely undone by the ending of the episode. Because he's like,
right, exactly.
Because he's like, in this scene, he's basically saying violence does not beget violence. Like, you can just keep being horrible as much as you want, and it'll just revert. It never ends doing that.
So, I love the phrasing of him saying, "Did one feel different from three?" And the dude's like, "What?" And he's like, "You punt 1, 2, and 3. Did they feel different from each other?"
Right. I don't know, dude.
What do you think you're gonna get from 4, 5, 6 if you keep punching me?
Yeah, it's a very good scene, and I think who is the actor that plays Byron? Let's learn this since now he's going to become capital I important. Robin Atkin Downs.
Okay.
Robin Atkin Downs, very British. So he starts doing more flirty stuff with Lita. She's like, oh man, Byron, you told me that I was in a past life of yours, I was a tree that kept you shaded. And he's like, you're a BCFMO. Big comet. I should have written this, what it actually stood for down. I just wrote the initialism down.
Doesn't it make you mad? I mean, don't you want to strike back? Couldn't you just... What? What's so funny?
Do you know what you are?
What?
A BCFMO. A brightly colored, fast-moving object. You don't just walk into a room, you blaze in and blaze out again like a comet.
And she's like, wow, that's so cool. And he's like, babe, stay the night. And she's like, I can't, I'm busy. He's like, babe, it's cool. And she's saying, I don't feel like I belong here. I don't feel like I'm right with you guys, which I figured out in hindsight that like she's kind of saying she has a secret. She has like stuff that they don't know that she knows.
Yeah, I was wondering what she was uncomfortable about. I think maybe it was the Vorlon thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Something that makes like immediate sense. So then telepaths just start getting beat up a lot because, now we're doing racism. And it's at this point that I texted you, hey, if they're going to do the Malcolm X thing, that sucks, right? Like, that's bad. Like, the historical misunderstanding of who Malcolm X was as a person, where it's like a lot of history books taught us, and in history classes taught us that he was the guy who experienced violence and decided to reciprocate it, which is like not, by the way, what Malcolm X was about, guys. Read a book. But that was like how we were taught about it. Like there was like the nice civil rights guy, and then there was like the violent civil rights guy. And so Byron starts becoming this like violent civil rights guy, and like I said, countering his own words from earlier, finds a guy in the down below and gives him a vision that he's on fire, burning. He's burning alive. Byron's not the one who does that. It's the other telepaths.
The other telepaths do that, yeah.
But then doesn't he say like, no, it's me?
He's lying.
Because he's telling the guy
he's saying to them, you guys, it's me. Hey, quit doing that. Look.
Stop burning this guy.
Do it for me, is what he says.
Right. The telepaths are the ones who are doing. I would consider that an act of violence, absolutely, right? Even if it's not.
Yeah, 100%.
Because then that guy's also hospitalized. I think he's like.
Yeah, he like collapses or something. The reason that they do that, is because the one telepath guy who's also telekinetic, which is crazy.
Right, he just can spin an orb.
He gets hospitalized because those dudes beat him up real bad.
Right.
So what ends up happening in this episode is violence escalates because the telepaths are getting upset and they want to like pay things back. Mm-hmm. And Byron is a peacenik and he doesn't believe that violence does anything good. When he's talking to Lita about it, he's like, no form of oppression that's relied on violence has ever endured, so it's not lasting. And then Yeah, Zach Allen busts in when Byron tries to save the guy from getting burned in his mind, and Zach Allen says, "You're under arrest. I'm arresting you." He gets arrested, and then while he's in prison, the telepaths do more violence and kill someone. Whoops.
Oopsie.
That's not good. And then Zach Allen lets him go. And then we're hanging with Lita again.
And this is where the episode... I sent you a gif of somebody jumping off of a diving board.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So, do you want me to just get into it?
Please.
Basically, Lita says, "Hey Byron, I want you to rest in me." And I'm like, that's sex. And it's like, no, I literally mean what I literally mean is I want you to make love to me. And just a heads up before we do that, I haven't been with anyone since the Vorlons. That probably makes this dangerous. And then it might hurt you. It might burn you. And he says, let it burn, because he wants HPV. And you guys got to get tested if you think that your partner has HPV.
Oh my God.
This part is everything. This is filmed completely bonkers. Speaking of cinematography, we're getting like cuts to all of basically every Lita scene in the whole show.
Yeah, first of all, welcome to the only sex scene of Babylon 5.
It's ever.
Just saying that. It's been implied that other people have had sex before. Sure.
Multiple times.
But never have we had a like, I'm naked on top of you, humping away, our fingers are interlocked,
humping and
red
pumping,
lighting, like sex scene. And so you're like, okay, all right, Babylon 5, sure.
Rick, well, I think that's intentional. Like, it pulls you in because you're like, is this important? Because they're having like real sex. It's wild,
right? And then it just gets sci-fi bananas.
And then we take a dive into the fantasy dimension.
Yeah, it turns into an Evangelion dream sequence or something. It's deeply dark because Lita's remembering all this Vorlon shit, and then the main thing that she ends up remembering, and she projects into Byron's mind, because that's what happens when telepaths have sex,
right?
Is that when she was being adjusted by the Vorlons, she saw like all these other beings being incubated by them from different races and stuff.
Yeah. Hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of telepaths are being born by the Vorlons for their purposes.
Yeah. And so what Byron learns from this is what makes this a weird reveal, because we knew this, basically, is that the Vorlons intentionally bred and adjusted the mutation and development of telepaths among all the different species that they sort of had dominion over, so that they could make foot soldiers for their war against the shadows.
Right. That's not that weird, right?
No, I guess we had never really encountered it that explicitly. We never really knew that the Vorlons had like rows and rows of test tube babies with telepath powers.
Yeah, and we can't emphasize enough, man, how weirdly this is depicted to us visually. Yeah. So Lita's eyes like turn black the way they would when she would communicate with the Vorlons or be possessed by the Vorlons. Yep. And then we're getting not a cut but a pan from the different telepaths in the area all waking up because she's, basically broadcasting a gigantically like loud speaker message, going from one of them to a fetus, to another one, to another fetus, to another one, to another fetus, faster and faster until we pan out and it's just a room full of fetuses and test tube telepaths.
Yeah, it's nuts. I thought it was pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. The part that bums me out is that Byron, well, you think the episode is over at this point, and they're like, no, we need to we got to take this somewhere right now. And Byron gets out of bed, and he says, damn it, they lied to us. We didn't know this. You didn't tell us this. If we are the children of the Vorlons and they were using us for this, we could have lived normal lives. We could have just been like everyone else. But no, they had to build us into their image and do all this crap and use us for their stupid wars. So, ipso facto, no more Vorlons, empty, abandoned Vorlon homeworld. The Vorlon homeworld is rightfully ours. We're taking it the fuck back. Yeah. And you're like, okay, that's fine. Just go to the Vorlon homeworld. It's probably empty right now, right, guys? And then Lita's like, but what if the Alliance says you can't do that? And he's like, fuck the Alliance.
Yeah.
And if he had a shotgun right there, he would have cocked it. That's where that would have ended.
That's when it got dumb, man.
Yep, exactly. Right there.
Because now Byron's like a mean war guy.
Uh-huh. Because he's got motivation. It's just like you're watching it happen. You're watching
But it
them
doesn't
make
make
a dictator.
sense. It doesn't really make that much sense that this would upset him. Like, if anything, this would make him be like, oh my God, I feel so used.
Right. He does.
But him saying like, all right, we're riding into Sheridan's office and we're going to get what we want. I don't really buy it.
But I'm playing devil's advocate here, obviously. They just want home.
Do it, play it.
Like, they want to be able to go, they want to stop worrying about being refugees and having to suppress their powers and having to lie to each other and have sex in small quarters like this. Like, they have a homeworld now that they can just have. It's theirs.
I'm just saying, rewrite this plot, rewrite this scene, rewrite this. And a better way to do it is Byron is super committed to nonviolence.
Yeah.
We have even a single line from any other telepath in his crew at all, where they're earlier in the episode challenging his commitment to nonviolence and being like, but what about what they've done to us? Maybe someone said something like that. I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
But you like set the seeds of maybe there's one or two of them who believe that there should be some kind of violence. And then when Byron learns from Lita what happened, he tells everyone, and he's like, I don't really know what to make of this. I'm finding it hard to believe. I feel lost. Maybe you feel lost too, but we'll find ourselves together. And then one person in the crowd is like, what the fuck?
What did we just say?
We're gonna use these powers that the Vorlons made us warriors, and now we're gonna take what's whatever. Like, I think it should come from somebody other than him.
So what's gonna happen, Magellan, is that you're gonna. I think I'm predicting you're gonna kind of get what you want. They're gonna go there. He's gonna be like, guys, we don't need to be that violent. Like we don't need to fight. And then he's going to die, and his death is going to be misunderstood. And he's going to be a martyr figure for people to start a war. Right?
Yeah, probably.
It's called the telepath war. Like, we know this from Deconstruction of Falling Stars.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't get martyr figured, then yeah, this does feel like a really weird place to take him, because it's just like his villain arc doesn't make a crap ton of sense, or it just feels off a little bit. I get you there.
Yeah.
But we're definitely getting telepath fight stuff. Hopefully, that's interesting. Hopefully, it goes well. That's what I can say for now.
Yeah.
And then hopefully, I guess Franklin gets more good Doctor plots before the show is over.
Agreed.
Belize.
Yeah.
So that's what we have for this one.
The other thing I will say that I enjoyed, I really loved the conversation between Zach and Lita.
Which one?
At the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Not the parts where he's racist, but the conversation they had about Zach being like, or Lita saying he cares about me, he cares what happens to me.
Yeah.
And Zach is like, well, I care about what happens to you. And she's like, yeah, maybe you do, but like, you haven't shown me that. You haven't done anything to prove that. Literally, Zach, if Byron said right now to lay down my life for him, I would do it in 5 minutes. Could you say anything to change my mind in 5 minutes? And he's like, man, no.
I got you that pizza one time.
Yeah, remember that pizza? It was delicious. Had your favorite toppings. Cheese.
Just cheese.
But I just really, really like that. We get to see their relationship develop, and Zach is kind of a bad guy a little bit. And Lita's misguided, but
I'm actually curious where Zach lands when the war starts, and it's like, are you on Lita's side or are you on the side of your position? You know, that's probably where he's going to be placed, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that's going to be his fight, his internal.
So I don't actually this. We haven't really talked a lot about this, but season 5, the overall title of the season is The Wheel of Fire, which is like the literary term for like a chain of torturous or dire consequences that result from a single action. So like this is the action, right? This is like the thing that will get the wheel of fire spinning.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know for sure because there are probably other plots. Maybe there are multiple wheels of fire.
Yeah,
and this is one of them.
It's a season about various wheels of various fires.
Yeah.
Which is that's pretty interesting. So I'm really just curious how all the characters land once we get there. Like one of the best things about Babylon 5 is the way you like watch the seeds of conflict begin, and you're like, man, this is gonna go terribly, and then it does, and you're like, man, this went terribly. How are they gonna figure this out? And that's what I'm ready for right now.
I just want to have a saucy sex scene that doesn't cause some sort of like apocalyptic civil war.
I mean,
can't people just enjoy each other?
Dave the Dead has multiple sex scenes that we don't see that go fine.
Yeah.
Do you just want to watch pornography? I can just show you a video.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying just TV or movies, I feel like often, sex will be like, they're giving into these urges that's gonna cause problems.
Definitely.
And let's have a more balanced view of sex, I guess.
I agree. I think if you're going to portray it, at least, then portray it in a more positive light, because we often get this like,
or do a little from column A, a little from column B. Whatever. I'm not really that. I don't feel that strongly about it.
What do you feel strongly about? Do you feel strongly about reading emails?
Yeah, I strongly feel like we do it usually, so let's do it now.
Might as well. Inertia is the path of least resistance.
Inertia is inertia.
That's a Becoming Superman quote for all the JMS fans out there, which I'm hoping is all of you, maybe? We have, let's see, uno, dos, tres, cuatro emails to read this week. 1, 2, 3, I don't know how to recount anything. 2 of them are from Nick. I figured out how to read. The way we start emails is by like what the content of them is. So I was like, which one of these is good? Magellan did actually inform us that, and he said in case Magellan hasn't seen it already, and they linked us to Penn and Teller Get Killed, which is a film from 1989. We will talk about the Penn and Teller Happy Hour in our Day of the Dead discussion, but I had not heard about the movie until he sent that. So thank you to Nick. He says regarding Day of the Dead, temporary lifting of the drinking game is in effect due to the high amount of Penn and Teller references next week. So cannot overstate that.
Oh, it's gonna be fun.
I'm jazzed. His next email, this is the more like the meaty one.
By the way, I hope just another plug for the commentary chats episode on clock stoppers.
Oh yeah. I
really hope people listen to that, because we establish a drinking game for ourselves.
Oh my god.
Like, it's very dangerous and we have to call it off partway through.
Yeah. You need to watch us own ourselves, basically.
It's probably one of my favorite commentary chats moments that we've ever had. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
Me too. He says, I'm going to steal this observation from a post on Reddit a little while ago, which is that Sheridan actually ended up married to each of the cast. This is such a fucking Reddit post-ass thing, but whatever.
It definitely is.
Elizabeth was warrior cast. Anna was worker class. Delenn was religious cast. I don't think this was confirmed by JMS, but it's kind of neat. Yeah, people come from different classes. That's fine. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
It comes from that way of reading literature that I always like laugh at, like the high school English class way of just like, what is the symbolism of Sheridan's 3 wives? But yeah, it is kind of cute that they do fit like fairly rigidly into that. Although I think Day of the Dead puts a little wrinkle.
Anna being worker cast is a little, I don't know about that.
She works. Everyone works, technically, right? And Lockley being warrior cast, as we learned in Day of the Dead, wasn't even her like path her whole life. So
yeah, she was drugs cast.
He says, so you think the ways of the Rangers are confusing and contradictory? You've seen nothing yet compared to Legend of the Rangers. My bribe offer still stands, which is I think he wants us to or not watch Legend of the Rangers, but we're gonna have to watch it. Season 5 has an extra dose of Bester, and for me at least, it's the highlight of the first half of the season.
I'm excited.
I'm excited.
All right, should I read our other two?
Yeah, you get the Dan mail this week. Dan mail!
Oh, he's back, our buddy Dan. We miss you, Dan. All right, so Dan says about learning curve and strange relations. Delenn and Sheridan are not good models for a healthy relationship. Thank you, Dan. Their marriage is built upon secrets and lies. When was Sheridan thinking it was going to be a good time to bring up the fact that he had been married to Lockley? That's one of those tell immediately or tell never secrets. And speaking of a tell never secret, Delenn is still sitting on the fact that it was her vote that kicked off the Earth-Minbari War. Yet, 100 years in the future, we see her talking about how good of a man he was. I guess that a relationship built on secrets can hold up if you keep enough of the secrets. Woof. But Dan's exactly right. He goes on to say, Tanir, the ranger who took back the terror by beating a guy with a stick, turns up in the B5 movie Legend of the Rangers. He actually plays an important part in it. Babylon 5 loves its random callbacks.
Fuck yeah. Can't wait.
Ranger Lanier is a weird conversation to have at this point in the season, but it's not a great sign that he's following in the footsteps of someone who joined the Rangers for the wrong reasons and seems to be pushing himself in the same destructive ways. It's interesting that he doesn't seem to see his own trajectory as problematic. And Dan finishes up by saying, ugh, that frilling telepath song.
Sparsky reference.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I don't think I've ever hated a song so much at its first performance and loved it so much in its last performance.
What does that mean?
That's from Dan.
Why are you close? Thank you, Dan. That's what the kind of email that gets me really excited, and I love to see it.
Mm-hmm. And then we have an email from Ryan from Spit and Polish that says, what does this mean? Baby Daddy Likey cannot be canceled. That's the title of the email.
I think he's saying that when you said baby daddy likey.
Yeah.
That's not, we're not going to cancel that phrase because it's too fun.
Right. I didn't like that he used it. Is that what it was?
You said it.
I know I said it, and then I didn't like that he used it in an email.
Perhaps. Oh, yeah. That sounds right. That sounds right.
Okay. Ryan says, I'm glad to see that you're doing your best with what Season 5 is offering up to you. In Episode 6, I really like the back and forth between Garibaldi and Lockley, and I wish more of it was in the show. I love when she asks straight up what his problem with her is, and he says, I don't know you, therefore I don't trust you. Which is a nice callback for Garibaldi, because the first thing he says to Sheridan when they first met is, I don't know you. Some big questions I ask myself to this day about Season 5, which you have touched on, are, number one, do we really need Lockley to be his ex-wife?
No!
Yeah, correct. This backstory of Lockley weakens her character for me and just feels like a lazy way of certifying her as a character that we can assume trust in because Sheridan does. And number two, do we really need Byron when we already have Lita? Whoa, that's an interesting question.
That's a great question.
Lita is just such a badass with an interesting history of horrible events, which we've seen that could have culminated with her going against Sheridan and the Interstellar Alliance by leading a telepath resistance group. Instead, we get some random long-haired stranger that speaks in bad prose as the leader, and Lita is just there to be a follower like she always is. That is a really interesting point.
Right?
That would have made for a way cooler plot, I think.
Well, my only counter theory is
okay. All right, I'm listening.
Shucks, man. I guess I don't want to say what I was going to say anymore. And John, read the rest of the email, please.
No, go ahead.
If Byron in my theory has to die, then like killing off Lita for the rest of the telepaths to fight each other is like kind of a burn of Lita's character. It's like, well, there you go. Like I want to see her participate in that conflict. I don't want her death to be the start of the conflict.
That's a good point.
She's not a martyr yet. Like she already says like I feel like I'm outside, and definitely there are historical and spiritual stories of outsiders becoming martyrs for a culture, but it feels messier than just like this guy who everybody freaking loves is going to die for their sins.
There also is something to Lita's character. Like Ryan says, she's a follower like she always is, but that's part of her character that she's constantly seeking a place to belong.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been really compelling to see her create that place of belonging by being a leader of a telepath resistance, and then they find out like her Vorlon stuff and are like, what? But this, I think this is okay the way it's working.
By being Alita, you would say, Magellan?
Oh no!
Yes.
Oh God!
Yes. Daddy like it.
Ryan closes by saying, I'll leave you on this wonderful Jerry Doyle quote that I have mentioned briefly before. Quote, Bruce Boxleitner and Tracy Scoggins and I, in the 5th season, would be like back-to-back-to-back Republicans, trying to hold our own against all the liberal Democrats in Hollywood. Stop. What was cool is Bruce was number 1 on the call sheet, and I was number 2. So he had a certain degree of perceived, power. It helped us defend our positions even more.
I don't even... It just feels like I'm reading cartoon like parody quotes at this point. Like, yes, I believe all of these, but like, all right, we get it. They were all Republicans.
Yeah.
Even Scoggins.
Yeah.
So sad. You do hate to see that. But what you don't hate to see is this brief musical break as we come back to discuss one of the wackiest episodes of Babylon 5, Day of the Dead. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Chatzylon 5. The second episode we watched this week was Season 5, Episode 8, Day of the Dead. It was written by Neil Gaiman, directed by Doug Leffler. It aired March 11th, 1998, and it takes place February 22, 62. Alan, what happened in Day of the Dead?
Is this your corn-fed from Duckman impression?
This is my Neil Gaiman impression.
You know he's British, right?
I know. He actually sounds like, hey, what's up? I'm Neil Gaiman. Day of the Dead. It's my episode. Do you like it?
I do mostly like it.
Well,
yeah, sure.
Tell him what it's about then. Come on.
All right, Mr. Gaiman. Well, in this episode... Okay, I'm coming, Mr. Gaiman. I'm working on it.
Do it.
In this episode, Babylon 5 becomes part of the Brakiri Day of the Dead festival, in which people are visited by the deceased from their past. Also, famous entertainers Rebo and Zudi visit the station. But who cares about that? Oh, just kidding. We do. They did it. They brought the Magellan's 2 dads onto the TV show, finally.
Yeah, they did it. My fantastic, beautiful dads are here.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about your beautiful dads, or do you want to talk about the Day of the Dead?
I don't know.
Make your choice. So you liked this episode a lot.
I loved it.
Yeah?
I loved it.
Neil?
It's certainly top 5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for me anyway, in terms of like episodes that I would rewatch. I think it's supremely rewatchable, revisitable. Partly because it's so one-off. I was saying this to you yesterday, maybe before or after we recorded the first half, that part of the joy for me of watching Day of the Dead, and we'll talk about my beautiful 2 dads, I guess first, I do want to talk about them first. But the thing that I love about Day of the Dead is, you know, when you watch a TV show that's written entirely by a single person, the benefit of that is that everything feels of a piece. It feels very cohesive, and nothing is lost. Nothing is left behind necessarily. Mm-hmm. But the joy of watching this episode is that sometimes when a TV show is written by multiple people who are very... Sorry, I keep dropping this quarter. I'm going to leave it on the ground. When a TV show is written by multiple people who are very capable, but differently voiced writers... What you get is Neil Gaiman is going to write certain characters in a way that are different than how we've seen them, but are still true to who they are. Mm-hmm. And so I really enjoyed that about this.
Listener, how many pictures of Neil Gaiman do you think I can send Magellan before he reacts? How many do you think?
I haven't opened any of them yet.
So it's like I've sent you, I think 5 now. I'm gonna keep sending you pictures of Neil himself. I think that's his Twitter handle is Neil himself. Damn it! Fuck. Oh, it is. I confirmed that. Yeah. So, do you want me to tell you what I thought about Day of the Dead? Is that okay?
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah. This is it's such a great premise. This whole like we can bring back anybody who's died on this show, especially on a show that is about conflict and war, where people are dying all the time, and we have so many one-off characters that they could potentially bring back and be like, hey, what does this person have to say about X number of characters? But I think they use the limitations really well, like the fact that not everyone gets to have the experience. Only like about half of the cast has a sort of what Lockley calls a very personal evening, and the other half is just kind of hanging out doing nothing. So they use that limitation really well, and the people that are brought back are not even always who you expect them to be. Like, no part of me expected Lanier to get to talk to Mr. Morden. That was a big surprise to me that I really liked. So that stuff is handled really well, and it manages to also be really heartfelt and emotionally charged in a way that isn't like overdone.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. So which part of that? I mean, yeah. Can we just talk about the guys?
Rebo and Zooty?
Yeah, Zooty Zoot.
Do you guys have anything to declare? All I have to declare is that I'm cool or something. Which apparently that's like an Oscar. It's a misquoted Oscar Wilde quote, I think.
Oh my god, this episode is full of so many we're doing quotes.
We're doing quotes. I mean, that's a very Neil Gaiman thing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I have to declare is my own genius, something like that.
Yeah.
And the only thing I have to declare is his genius as well. Zooty Zoot.
So that voice for Zooty's
talk. It's actually Teller.
No, it's Harlan Ellison. Even better if you
okay.
like JMS's idol and like co-partner and producer.
All right.
I don't think Teller would use his own voice for this. Why would he do that?
I don't know. Teller's real voice is like he's just like, yeah, so we were thinking about like
He's Zach Allen?
A magic trick. Kind of. He's got a little bit of a vibe. Yeah, so I'm overdoing the accent. He doesn't sound like that, but he has like a voice along those lines. You should look up an interview with him. It's very amusing.
I will for sure. So Rebo and Zooty are on the station now, and Sheridan is completely starstruck. He says at the beginning, humor is truly a universal element, like hydrogen. And it's Sheridan. You cornball. I wanted to give him
I filmed for myself the stupid scene where he's like conferring upon them the Medal of Freedom or whatever it is he's giving them.
Yeah, he says, I can give you the freedom of Babylon 5, which like, what does that even... What?
Yeah.
Is that like the keys to the city, basically? Same idea?
And then they start doing their comedy routine, and it's just like they trade hats, and their flowers switch sides and stupid stuff, and everyone's like,
peak comedy. You're gonna have to show your kids about this one.
Lockley,
are you doing Michael Showalter crying in the pizza video, Magellan?
No, that sounds like this.
Lockley.
It's from Pizza, yeah.
Who could forget pizza? Just look up Stella Pizza on YouTube. You'll find it. I promise you.
It's gonna be weird.
It's very weird, but it's you'll unlock most of our humor with that.
Yeah.
Lockley's not having this. She's like, I have a meeting with the Brakiri, and Sheridan's like, I can't hear you over these cackles. She's like, I'm leaving. And then Jakar's like, ooh, she's leaving. Ooh. I love leaving places. She goes to talk to the Brakiri, and that's how they get into the Brakiri plot. But to get back to Rebo and Zooty, the boys are invited to dinner with Delenn.
Oh my god.
And she hears Zooty tells her a joke in Minbari, and she instantly cracks up laughing. Delenn has the kind of laugh that could like cure illness. She has such a just charming, wholesome laugh.
It's so disarming because she never laughs.
Exactly. And she looks at him like she's going to cuss him out or something first.
Yeah.
She's like, like snaps basically. And because she's like explaining the humor and it doesn't make any sense to us. And then Rebo is like, yeah, so Zooty studied Minbari humor and I think what he says is like their humor isn't based on like flipping expectations. It's based on like the difficulties of communication or something.
Well, it's even funnier than that because he's like, their humor, basically, he says, their humor isn't based on people being fucking dumb like our humor is. Based on people being idiots and hitting each other like our bad humor. Their humor is based on the sort of existential dread of failing to attain enlightenment.
The failure to obtain emotional or spiritual enlightenment.
Yeah.
They just have different humor, which is so fascinating because it makes sense.
I love that. Yeah, I adored it. I don't know what else to say. Every moment that Rebo and Zudi were on screen, I adored it.
I was just about to start getting tired of their bit being like, okay, so they're not doing anything, but we're laughing at it. Like I do generally like that
it's
joke.
Substanceless. It is completely substanceless. It makes no sense that they're there.
Yeah.
What a waste of a plot. And I adored it.
And yet it rules. Especially just knowing real life, like what Penn and Teller were up to at the time and where they've gone since then is so funny too. Because later they're having dinner or they're hanging. They just like spend the rest of the episode hanging out with Delenn and Sheridan. Like we're just gonna party while the Brakiri plot goes on the other dimension of the ship. Delenn is confused because she's saying, "Wait, you guys want to get out of comedy?" And then Rebo, just basically becoming a mouthpiece for Penn Jillette, is like, well, we want to get into politics. We want to do what you guys do. We want to do something that's like objectively good. All comedy happens in the Senate anyways. So if we work in there, we're basically still comedians because that's how politics works. It's all a big joke. It's a joke. I love libertarians. We should get rid of the government. And then Sheridan's like, that's actually not a bad idea. I mean, ultimately, what you guys are doing is still important because the only reason politics exists is so that people have the freedom to laugh. And then Delenn's like, and to love. And he's like, and to love, yes. That's right, Delenn. Smoochie, smoochie. I love you so much. Who's my favorite wife? That's you.
Out of all three,
one of whom is technically on the ship still.
I like you the most. Oh, I'm getting a call from my other wife.
She's not dead, anyways.
Let me answer it real quick. To love.
Commander Lockley. What's going on? So the Rebo and Zudi stuff basically just it mostly ends there, and we're left to think of like, wow, that's really like they're being funny, like the comedies in the Senate. That's cool. And then we get this really wacky moment at the end of the episode where Londo is bonding with them, even though Zudi keeps trying to play with his hair, which if I was on the show, man, I would be playing with Londo's hair constantly.
Great. I hope Teller improvised that. That's very funny.
Right. He's just in the background during the dialogue. And then
trying to touch his hair.
Sheridan asks Rebo, like, hey, Zudi's never spoken, has he? And he's like, and actually, Zudi has, with his own voice, said one word to me, which is, and he's like, what is it? And he's like, why? And then they do the stupid Abbott and Costello thing of like, but no, that's what he said.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's the end of that joke. And then at the end of the episode, everything is all settled. We're done with this like crazy death plot. And then Zudi whispers something to Sheridan, and someone's like, what did he say? What did he say? And he goes, he said, because it tells me to, which means nothing.
Right. I guess he's talking about the machine thingy.
Uh-huh.
Or something. So what? It's like a creepy, like he's made to do comedy by the machine or whatever. But there's really not. It's like, all right.
It succeeds in the space of this sort of like comedy suspense stuff that again Gaiman really succeeds in, where you're just left to think like, huh, I guess I could just chew on that. Like, I don't need that to be lore. Like, he does a really bad job often of writing, like, setup for big plots and lore stuff. That's the thing, like, I remember from reading a lot of Sandman back in, like, high school and college. But, like, this is just a line that's just like, huh, that's weird. Anyways, bye.
Yeah.
Because while this episode is very thoughtful and contemplative, it is ostensibly, it's not non-canon, but it's, like, not essential.
It has no impact on canon. Well, almost no impact.
But the things we learn, especially in the other plot of the episode, are fascinating.
I just, before we move to it's important, perhaps the most important thing canon-wise that happens in this episode. Londo previously really didn't like Rebo and Zudi.
Right.
All. And now he loves them.
I mean, how can you not, man? How can you not?
So that, I mean, this really changes the game.
What's Teller's last name? Pendulat and Teller Jones?
No. His last name was Teller.
What's his first name?
He was born Raymond Teller.
Really?
But then I think legally his name is just Teller.
Oh my god.
Now.
But Penn is still Pendulat.
Pendulat, yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, you're right. Oh, damn, he legally changed his name. I respect it.
Yeah, the Flash.
But I'm happy that we got to see them. It's always fun. It's always fun also seeing Pendulat with like his big, like gigantic Jerry curl hair.
Yeah, I love that.
He always vaguely looks the same age because he's had so much facial hair, but it's just like the color of it that defines how old he is, and whether or not it's in a ponytail or not. That's the different eras of Pendulat's hair.
And I enjoyed their sort of like hammy bad acting that they were doing. Time.
For sure.
My other favorite joke related to them was when Lockley's in her quarters and she's changing the channel, but she keeps changing it to other
different ones
Reba and Zudi movies.
Yeah,
that was fun. But yeah, anyway, so let's dive into the dead people part.
Yeah, so Brigiri's talking to Londo at the beginning, asking him if he knows about the rituals of the Brakiri Day of the Dead, and he's like, it seems weird, but I guess if you guys want to do it, I'm not going to stop you. And then they go to Lockley, and they say that they want to buy Babylon 5, which at first Lockley is confused about because she's like, you guys, what? You can't own a place, right? Like, you can rent it. And the guy's like, no, we have to buy a piece of the ship. We'll give it back at the end of the night. But you have to say, like, it's for ritual's sake. You have to say that we're buying it from you, and then we own it.
Yeah.
She's like, I mean, and then she's also, I like the part where she's like, cool, Brakiri Day of the Dead. Why is it at night? And I basically just want it to be like, narrative convenience. It looks cool. We're going to turn the lights off. Like, let it be spooky. Come on.
Also, like, what even is night in space?
Exactly, right. It's the only way they know about day and night and time is because of how they orbit. I think they use Earth time on Babylon 5.
Yes.
Right? Yes. That. Okay, I was like,
I hope so.
Yeah, they've talked about, or like number of rotations of the station is also how they determine time.
Who knows, man?
Jakar busts in and is like, I think this is a bad idea. And she's like, no, Jakar, like, be cool. It's fine. They're not going to do anything. Garibaldi later notices that they are drawing literal lines on the ship, and he's saying that the places beyond the lines are Brakiri territory. He realizes that his room is within the Brakiri territory, and they're like, I'm just warning you, you're in our side. And he's like, are you guys going to wake me up? And they're like, no. And he's like, all right, I'm going to sleep. Bye, guys. Then we cut to Londo, and we realize that something is happening. Londo is sharing a drink with a painting of the very first Centauri Emperor, saying, annoyingly foreshadowing things like, anyone can be Emperor. If Veer can be Emperor, and if Veer can be Emperor, a small Earth cat can be Emperor. And I'm telling you, if we get Emperor Veer, then this line is dumb. But good. Good dumb.
We will get Emperor Veer, though. That's what this prophecy said.
That's true. We've got the prophecy, and now we've got Londo.
He knows that it's prophesied already. It's going to happen.
So he's over. That's why he's saying this is like, if Veer's going to do it, then anyone can do it. He's laughing at it. He's enjoying. He's in his cups. He turns around, and there's a woman on his bed. Who could it be?
Uh-oh. Whoa.
Uh-oh. From all the way back in season 1, Alada Vagina herself has returned to America. It's Adira.
He seemed annoyed at first.
Like, Adira. Wait a minute.
He used her last name. Like, you learned her last name?
Adira Tai or something. Tai Li.
Yeah. Tai Li. Yeah, whatever it was. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you're back. And she's like, hell yeah, I'm back, man. And so then we just get like everybody meeting their dead person, their dead pal. Garibaldi gets the short end of the narrative stick this week, and he gets to see Dodger from back in Gropos, everyone. You know, Dodger.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
This is my least favorite.
So let's set these up. So the four are Londo is talking to Adira. Garibaldi's talking to Dodger. Lockley has a friend from her past that turns out she was like a raver girl with or something.
They did drugs together.
Yeah, they did lots of drugs together and ran away from their military dads. And maybe were lovers also?
Entirely, like, based on how strongly Lockley reacts to seeing Zoe again, I think they had to...
That's the case.
Yeah, they had to have some sort of connection.
And Lanier sees... you said this. Lanier sees Mr. Morton.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the dead that we see.
Right.
Let's try to guess each other's rankings of how much we enjoyed.
Oh, okay. Of your ranking, I would say...
Wait. Give me some time to think about yours.
Sure.
Okay, I got it. I know what yours is. I think we might be the same.
Yours is number 1, Londo Adira.
Keep guessing them.
Your number 2 is Morden Lanier. Your number 3 is Lockley Zoe, and your number 4 is Garibaldi Dodger.
Okay. Should I tell you if you're right and then say yours?
Tell me mine and then we can tell each other.
Okay. I think your number 1 is Lanier Morden.
Okay.
Number 2 is Londo Adira.
Okay.
Number 3 is Lockley Zoe, and number 4 is Garibaldi Dodger.
Okay. You're correct.
Okay. I think that is also mine.
Oh, okay.
You
like Morden Lanier more than...
It's more interesting than Londo Adira because they don't end up doing much with Londo Adira.
Other than sex.
Other than them having sex. We'll talk about it, I guess. But the one part that I did like was her saying, like, you're going to be ruling over all of these people, but none of them will know you like I know you. And it's like, oh, God, that's sad.
That's so sad.
So sad.
And I'm dead.
Yeah. And then, did you put Lockley Zoe last for me or third?
Third.
Third, yeah. I think that's where it is. Yeah.
It's brought down a lot by some of the dumb, like, Lockley lines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's not as bad as, like, there's just nothing happening in Garibaldi Dodger other than
let's talk about them in that ascending order then. So
sure.
Yeah, so Garibaldi Dodger, I guess they just needed Garibaldi to have something to do. The idea of Garibaldi seeing someone dead from his past sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he's already had that sort of thing with oh my God, what's her name?
What is her name? Lise?
Lise, yeah, that's right. He's already kind of had the, like, revisiting his past, but what about that dude who died, or remember when he was alcoholic?
Yeah.
There's, like, some dude who died. I don't know, they could have done more interesting things, but...
the guy on Mars who he led to his death.
Yeah, that guy. I think that could have been a way more interesting thing, but instead we get, like... You know, we go straight from Londo and Adira, and we're like, oh, okay, Londo's going to have some sexual experience with the dead. Cut to, like, there's a hot lady in Garibaldi's shower. Oh, boy.
You got a towel out there, buddy. Cutie.
And then she comes out, and I was like, who is that?
Huh? You're, like zooming in, like, pausing, like, wait, who do I remember?
Yeah. And, you know, I thought Dodger was a fun character, and I really enjoyed the Garibaldi plot with her when we saw her the first time, because Garibaldi, like, freaked out when they were going to have sex, and it was a side of Garibaldi that I think was really cool to see. But her being here now doesn't really give him any development, I don't think.
There are 2 moments from this plot that I actually enjoyed, and I was like, that's a really good job from both the acting and the writing perspective.
Yeah.
One is that as Lockley is trying to figure out the mystery of like why their half of the ship has been physically separated and brought to the Brakiri homeworld, she's like, Garibaldi, I need you to hack the mainframe and send it up not to Babcom, but to Spacecom, which is like basically log onto the internet and like fix the communication so we can message Sheridan. And she's like, you have 10 minutes. And he's like, give me 8 and I'll do it or whatever. And then he turns to Dodger, and Dodger's like, interesting how you're proving your masculinity by hacking a mainframe like you always do. And it's like, she just nailed his character to the wall in 1 second.
Right.
Which, that's the benefit of having these dead characters, is like they get to be a little bit omni-intelligent and just like know what somebody's deal is. But it's because it's like Dodger maybe wouldn't know that. Probably not. But just like a dead person who knows Garibaldi might know that. So there was that. And then I just liked the tenderness of their last scene, where even though he still feels like things are okay with Lise, in the time of living, the last thing he says to her isn't like, man, I really wish I got with you instead. It's like, I'll see you in heaven. Hopefully we can be friends. Like, we can be together in heaven. But if it's as friends or as lovers, once we are dead, none of this matters anymore. So I'm fine, like, accepting that the sort of wholeness of things means we can be together. Which is, like, charming. And then, yeah, I feel like everybody disappearing could have been a little bit, like, could have hit a little bit harder. It should be a big moment. But some of them are just like, yep, and then they disappeared. That's cool, I guess. So that was my thing with Garibaldi and Dodger.
Sorry, I turned on my Skype video by accident, and I can't turn it off.
Okay, I'll just look at you.
I don't know.
Hi, John. Oh, that's your closet.
Can you see me?
I see your closet.
How do I turn it? It won't turn off.
We're keeping this in the episode, by the way.
I don't want you to see me.
I mean, I can't. I'm literally just looking at your microphone and your closet. You can't click the video thingy? Oh, there you are.
Hey, what's up, man? I'm clicking it. I'm just gonna cover you.
He covered his webcam.
I don't like that you can see me. There we go. Turned it off.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Fabulous. That's okay.
My thing with the Garibaldi plot is, I don't know. It's so half-hearted, the like resolution of the Lise stuff, because it was like, this is the love of his life. Oh my God, we go through all this trouble. He's on Mars. He's like working for her husband and whatever. And now the way he's talking about her is like, yeah, I got a girlfriend on Mars. Like, it's whatever. It's cool.
It's chill. I'll say, if I saw you though, I would be with you. That's fine.
Yeah, I'd totally be with you in heaven. And it's like, buddy, what? What did we spend the whole season of you realizing that you like need to be a committal person and be better doing? And then it's just like kind of half-assed the way the moment plays out, where I guess maybe not. Maybe this is, people have people in their lives where it's like, oh, we missed each other and maybe we could have been together, but we just missed each other. And that's what this is supposed to be. But I just don't really need that from Garibaldi, I guess.
It's more like there was a lot of potential in a Garibaldi dead person plot that they didn't bank.
I guess that's more what it is.
To jump to our next one, we're going to talk about Lockley and Zoe?
Lockley and Zoe, yeah.
Yeah, so girlfriends in crime. What I really appreciate about this plot is that nothing is said explicitly. Like, this is actually handled fairly deftly, I guess.
Yeah.
Lockley's like, were you dead? Did you die on purpose or did you die by accident? I saw you with your mouth, with you choking on and then she gets all like choked up and she can't say it. She says, I saw cockroaches on your body when I found you in the kitchen. So we come to understand this is most likely a drug-related death.
Yeah.
And that they lived together for a while and they were extremely close in whatever way you want to read that. Obviously, we choose to read it our way. And when she saw her dead, Lockley's father and all of his military buddies brought her to their military base. She lived there for a couple years and then joined military school and got to where she is now. And it's kind of like a pretty emotional realization of like how individual moments of your past can affect things and can cause ripples. Because she's realizing, if you just didn't die, like I would never be here. I would never even be the character that I am right now in any way. And coming to terms with that understanding with the person who did it.
I really like that we have a plot that's humanizing Lockley. I think it's a little trite, the way that the kind of background that she has, like, she's a military girl, but didn't you know that when she was younger, she was wild and they were doing the drugs and stuff. I think in that sense, I don't know. It's fine. I didn't feel that strongly one way or the other about it. I thought that her friend was played pretty well, actually.
Yeah, Zoe's good. Zoe has two really good performance moments. Just the part where she finally answers that yes, I did it to myself because it hurt too much to live anymore, which is like a really, really bleak but like honest moment of clarity that you get from her. And then right at the beginning when we first meet Zoe, it's like the first thing she asks Lockley is like, "Hey, do you have any stuff? Do you want to party? We have plenty of time tonight." And it's like, Zoe, you died from that, and you're still like, let's do it. Like, are you? Oh, it's so heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we don't leave the cycles that we build for ourselves often. And usually it's just even death doesn't make like it's bleak to think like if you came back to life and you knew what killed you, would you do it again? And she's kind of saying like, yeah, I'd probably do it again.
yeah.
Not take her own life, but still, yeah, good performance. I agree. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, though. Did you have any other like thoughts about this plotline?
No. Did we talk about the password part yet?
No, we have to talk about that.
Yeah, we have to.
So, when Lockley is trying to get the lights back on, it's like, the lights cannot, like the lighting and electricity can't be overridden without a password. And then she's like looking at Zoe, and then she goes, password. Zoe's dead. And just looks at Zoe like, yeah, I said that in the password. And it's like, first of all, if my best friend, if I'm like, let's not get too bleak here, but like if I was like in charge of like a big company or something, and my secret Windows password, and you had died from something really tragic and sad, Magellan, I wouldn't make my password like R.I.P. Magellan.
Yeah, right.
That's a bad password.
That's so silly. Why would you remind yourself constantly about that? I guess the reason is because it's a password that nobody would be able to guess or replicate. But yeah, it was just corny as hell.
And the way she looks at her like, yep, that's you. You're the one who's dead. Very goofy.
Yeah.
So every once in a while, this episode like dips into corny in a way that sometimes is not good. We can move on. We can talk about
let's do it.
Lanier and Adira. So I think I had heard rumblings of this episode way back in season 1 being like, oh, Adira, because we looked up like, does Adira come back? Or is she actually dead? And then when she was confirmed dead, we're like, oh, never mind. But I didn't get a lot out of this one. Other than like the touching nature of like Londo realizing, like you said, that being an emperor is never going to, like, no one else is going to understand him like she did. That stuff is good.
Yeah, I thought so. It's just kind of like replaying the emotional beats of the episode that she was in, which they're emotional beats that I really liked and resonated with me the first time. And so to see them again, I was like, yes, do it. I texted you. You're telling me that the episode that we get Penn and Teller is the same episode where Londo gets a moment of happiness.
Right.
Like, oh, please, please, please.
Londo and Garibaldi back to back have like sex with dead people in this episode. Just like, all right, cool guys. I'm glad you're happy. But with Londo, you're like, I'm glad you deserve a good one for one night, maybe. Yeah, she just doesn't have him self-reflect that much. But the thing is, Londo has self-reflected to the point of like having a near-death experience. Like he's kind of good for now. I didn't like need him to have another come to Jesus moment, but it's nice to just have him be like, yeah, man, you were the last person who I really like cared about, more than my wives, more than like Veer, more than any of the Centauri. Like you were the person. And reminds us of such a simpler time in season 1 when he had way less to worry about than being at fault for like half of the world dying.
Yeah. I guess I don't know what I wanted out of it. I just want her to be alive. Right?
Adira?
Yeah.
You just want Londo to be some sort of happy eventually, right?
Yeah, man.
Like if season 5 is going to be about redeeming characters and giving them one last shot, then like give me Londo settling with someone somewhere.
Right, exactly. But we know that that's not going to happen. He's going to he's going to die a horrible death.
The most owned man in space, as we know.
Oh my god.
And fighting for the title of most owned man in space is Lanier from the Rangers, the Anlashok Lanier, who is visited by the dead spirit of Mr. Morden, the ambassador to the shadows. Ed Wasser's back, and now his hair is like shorter.
Yeah, they just did it wrong.
Yeah, it's like his hair was already short. They just made it a little shorter and kind of messed it up. Still vaguely handsome. Still a good actor. He's telling Lanier a couple of things because Lanier's like, ugh, he's basically like, I didn't even have an episode with you, dude. I wasn't even like Veer and Londo dealt with you. I wasn't your guy, right? And he's like, yeah, but I know about you, Lanier. Like, I know all your problems. Because Morden's always been a sort of carrier of information. And he's like, all right, well, what the hell do you know? And he's like, for example, Delenn never loved you and she never will. And you don't believe that. Lanier's like, hello? It's 8:00 at night and I'm just hanging out in my room. And this ghost is just like, yep, the person that you have focused your entire life on doesn't love you. And Lanier's like, yeah, I know that. I know that she'll never will. And again, Morden's just like, pretty sure you don't believe that. You're telling yourself you believe it, but you don't believe that. How did you feel about this whole thing?
So this brings up our kind of questions about like the consistency of the ghosts and what it is they know or don't know, and to what extent they understand that they're dead. Because Morden seems like the most what's the word, omniscient of the ghost people, because I don't think he ever met Lanier, did he?
He might have,
maybe,
but him just meeting Lanier doesn't mean he knows, for example, that Lanier will betray the Amlashok.
Right, he can see the future, and Lanier calls him out. He's like, you didn't even know about Sheridan, so how can you know that? And Morden gives a kind of answer of like, yeah, well, I could.
I'm prophetic, not
I
infallible.
Could still be prophetic, yeah.
That's not. I didn't say you were infallible.
That's nothing. But yeah, it's slightly inconsistent, like what the ghosts know or don't know, because Morden doesn't really know Lanier. It also brings up the question of like, what determines who's being called forth, you know? It's kind of the trope of ghost things is that the ghost has unfinished business. And I guess what this is these people have unfinished business with these people who've died. Like the people who are living have unfinished business with the dead. But then the Lanier one, I guess what it's saying is the perfect person for him to see was this like dark, brooding guy who can tell it like it is.
Right, and it's someone who doesn't have any sort of attachment to him. It's not like who's Delenn's mentor that with the nice goatee that you like a lot?
Ducat.
It's not like Ducat's going to be like, hey, Lanier, I know Delenn really well, and she doesn't love you. Because that's just like, I know you, Ducat, and I believe you. But with Morden, it's like, who are you? Why do you know these things? Like, it's different when you don't know who the person is. And I just really like Ed Wasser as an actor. I think he brings that, like...
He's fun.
Yeah, that, like, slimy, like, I know everything, and I'm going to tell you everything, and you're going to believe it or not. But it's true. Lanier at first resists this, and we don't really see him... in this episode, I guess, come to terms with it. If anything, my favorite Lanier scene was when he comes back. I was so excited, and he goes to Delenn, and he's like, your partner, he's well? And she's like, my husband, yes.
That was so weird. You like, know Sheridan.
Why did you call him that? Which just, he's being unnecessarily bullied again by Delenn, because she's like, yeah, the guy I married and not you. Yeah, not partner, husband.
Yikes,
get it right, sir.
Oh, man.
So Lanier's sad, but I think this is now his moment. This is now his time. Now that a literal ghost has come back to tell him, hey, get over yourself. Truly get over yourself.
Do you think he's going to betray the Rangers for real?
For what? Like for Delenn?
I don't know. Well, Morden said he's going to betray them.
Oh, that? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think most prophecies in the show have had in some dark way been true.
Yeah.
So whether it's like he fights back against them or he abandons them in a time of great need or something like that, yeah, I definitely think Lanier will at some point, because he's there for bad reasons. If you're there for bad reasons, you're never going to succeed. You have to follow your heart and do what your heart tells you to, and he's following it the wrong way. So he's eventually going to realize he's doing the wrong thing by being in the Rangers.
I hope he's all right.
I think he'll be all right. I don't know if the Rangers will be all right. I mean, we actually know the Rangers will be all right because they'll exist into the year 10 million or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all the different people and their dead pals. Morden vanishes, hoping he gave Lanier something to think about. He leaves behind the newspaper he was reading that just says, like, Rebo and Zudi are on the ship. Thank you, newspaper. Love that there's newspapers in 2264. That's great.
Yeah, you're right, actually. You're 100% right, because we've seen episodes where they get their news by talking to the computer. So there being newspapers makes no sense.
No sense. It's just for that shot. 2262, by the way. Sorry, before I get corrections. It's just like a cute, like, Morden would definitely be the guy that gets a newspaper, even though he doesn't need it.
Didn't someone else have a newspaper too? Didn't, like, Lockley have one or something?
Yeah.
Somebody else also had a newspaper. I also, by the way, I just remembered the other part of the Rebo and Zudi plot that was fun is when Jakar goes to the bridge to like sleep there, which is super cute. And he walks in on Corwin practicing his Rebo and Zudi hat tricks.
Corwin's like, sorry.
Yeah,
that's okay. Jakar's like in a different outfit in that scene, which is wild to me.
Yeah, that's his pajamas.
Oh, his jams. So we have all these people basically saying sorry and saying, I hope you don't hate me. I'm sad that Zoe took her own life. And she's like, don't hate me, Lockley. Deer disappears. Dodger disappears. Morden falls into dust, I guess. And the ship reforms. Lockley tells Sheridan things got personal. That's my favorite Lockley moment of this episode. Because when they call each other, they make it's sort of like, bless you.
Thank you.
It's sort of like when you call like your parents or something when you go out and you're like, yeah, I'm good. And they're like, okay, stay good, please. Because she goes through all of this effort to call Sheridan while they're on the other side of the world. And she's like, hey, how's it going? He's like, good. Are you alive? And she's like, yeah, we're fine. We're dealing with some stuff, though. And he's like, okay, talk to me at 8 o'clock tomorrow. And she's like, okay, bye. It's like, there's no actual worry happening in this plot. It's just like the emotional stress is what gets to her. So at the end when he's like, how's your night? And she's like, emotional or whatever, personal. He's like, yeah, I'm sure you had a whole night. He's like trying to explain. He's like, or the eggheads think it was, biological warfare. They got chemicals in the vents or something, but it's probably magic. And it's like, guys, you dealt with the shadows and the Vorlons. Like, magic exists. It's fine. And then just so you know that this episode has to be a teensy bit canon also. Zoe gives Lockley a message to give to Sheridan. And she says, hey, Sheridan, is this some message from this guy Kosh? Do you know him?
Oh my God.
Have you heard of it? He said, when the long night comes, return to the end of the beginning. And I just wish that was the moment where Sheridan like rolled his eyes and was like, man, come on. Again, Kosh.
I loved the way that Bruce Boxleitner played this. Because when she mentions Kosh, he has this look of pure dread that is so delicious.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck. Oh no.
What's Kosh gonna say?
What is Kosh saying?
Coming from beyond the dead to give me a heads up, like,
yeah. And then when she says it, the way that he sort of acts like, yeah, okay, all right. That makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, blinking to himself like, all right, well, I got a whole couple episodes to deal with this one. Here we go.
So well played. I could have lived in that close-up shot of his face for a while.
It's me at the McDonald's deciding what kind of burger to get for like 10 minutes, being like, can I get it's that feeling. It's just like doubt, confusion, but also a weird crystallized
It's the same reaction as if they just told you that they'd stopped serving breakfast.
And you're like,
it's like, okay.
I like came into this with a plan of like what kind of breakfast I was gonna get, and then my whole day is off now. I could eat protein. So that's where he is at. And we don't know what that means yet. So nobody tell us, because I'm excited for more Forlorn garbage.
I think I actually know what it means.
Oh, you do? You nasty man.
Just because I know, yeah. Just from what other things I know, I'm like piecing together what I think that means.
Fair enough. Well, if you know so many things, Magellan, can you, for example, tell me what's going to happen and what episodes we're going to watch next week on Chatzylon 5?
I mean, yeah, I'm prophetic, but I'm just not infallible.
Oh my God, you are.
Before I do that, can I read the whole? I was annoyed by some of the line quoting, but the part where Dodger and Garibaldi are singing poems to each other, I actually liked. And Dodger, before she leaves, she quotes an Emily Dickinson poem that is like 8 lines long, and it's like woof. She only quotes the last 2 lines, but this is the whole thing. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing goes, "My life closed twice before its close. It yet remains to see if immortality unveil a third event to me, so huge, so hopeless to conceive as these that twice befell. Parting is all we know of heaven, and all we need of hell." Boy, oh boy, oh boy. When she said that line, I was like, did Dodger come up with that?
Did she write that? That's a good line.
Wow, Dodger. No, it's Emily Dickinson. All right, you want to know what happens next week?
I do.
Well, what if I told you I had to part and I couldn't tell you?
Oh.
Would that feel like hell?
Parting is such sweet sorrow.
Yeah, that's that's basically what she's saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do I know? You're gonna say you said you know?
Yeah, I don't. No. It's just the way I end sentences sometimes. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go and talk to the people.
All right. Next week, we're watching 2 more episodes of Babylon 5. We're watching Season 5, Episode 9 and Episode 10. First up, Episode 9, In the Kingdom of the Blind. Byron and...
Yeah. Yes. Good.
Byron and other telepaths seek a homeworld of their own.
Good.
Then, Season 5, Episode 10... This is fun. Oh, slightly spoilery, but not that spoilery. Lockley asks Bester for help in dealing with a group of telepaths that have locked themselves in an area of down below.
2 Bester episodes in 1 season? Is that allowed? What the fuck? Is that allowed?
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Hell yar.
Hell yar.
Cool.
Yeah.
That actually sounds kind of fun. I'm fine with a double dose of telepath nonsense at this point. Just bring it on.
If that means that it's going to be done soon, that sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need any more of that arc, really.
Indeed. Magellan, I'm going to take it to the plug zone if that's chill with you.
I want you to.
Okay.
Can I do the plugs again?
You know what? You can do the plugs again.
Oh, thank you. I listened back to last week's episode and I've heard the joy in my voice doing the plugs. And I was like, I need more of that joy in my life.
I'm always here to help you spark joy, especially if it's hearing your own voice.
No, that's not what I mean. I get joy from talking about the ways that you can contact us. If you would like to send us questions, comments, concerns, suggestions of any kind, you can get in touch with us via email at chatspod@gmail.com. Or you can also, and you can follow us on Twitter and message us there, or tweet at us there at Chatspod. Both are spelled CHATZPOD. If you'd like to support the show, which we highly encourage you to do, you can head on over to patreon.com/chatspod, and you can donate at the $1, $3, or $5 tier levels. Each of those will give you something a little bit exciting. At the $1 level, you can get a monthly commentary chats episode that is us watching a film and doing a commentary track of it. We just recently did Buffy the Vampire Slayer for October. It's coming out pretty soon. Is it out? No, it's coming out as you're hearing this now.
Wait.
Well,
no, you're right.
Yeah.
It's coming out in 2 days.
We had fun with that one, so we hope that you take a listen to that. Very interesting for us, being such big fans of the show, having never seen the film.
Yeah.
At $3, you get that plus Chats Nights, which is the hangout show that we do bi-weekly, where we talk about just whatever we feel like. Sometimes it's a show about nothing. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of what this could be like.
What a concept.
What a concept. A show about nothing. And then if you go for $5 a month, you get both of those things. Plus, on the off weeks where you don't get a Chats Nights, you might think, oh man, I'm not getting anything. Well, at $5, you get Pilot Chats, which is the show where we test out potential new television shows that we would like to watch for the main show of Chats. We just recorded and also just released, when you're hearing this, a conversation about Duckman and Clone High, 2 different animated series that we chose to pilot for that. So lots of fun stuff on the Patreon there for your listening ears. And now we can talk about our Chatsums for the week, just little suggestions of things you could watch, read, listen to, enjoy, experience between now and the next time that you're with us. So, Alan, what is your Chatsum for this week?
So I love narratives. I love stories. I love storytelling. And that's part of why we like doing this podcast. We like stories. And one of my favorite story-based titles, video game titles, that I've been replaying recently as part of a visual novel podcast that I listen to. I'm following along with them. It's a game called 80 Days. It was released by Inkle in 2014. It's on iOS, it's on Windows, it's on the Switch. It just came out on the Switch very recently. It's basically an interactive fiction adventure that's like a retelling of the Jules Verne novel Around the World in 80 Days. So you're actually playing as Passepartout, and you're hanging out with Phileas Fogg, going around the world, choosing your destinations, starting in Western Europe and going across the world in whatever direction you want. And everywhere you stop, you can buy and sell things, you can talk to people, you can learn about the world, and you're trying to survive, basically. It's kind of like a light survival narrative game. I don't want to say too much about what happens during it, because it's like all the different routes are really fascinating. They've even like added routes since the game came out. But if you like that book or cared about it and wanted a more modern take on it, I will say that what's cool about 80 Days the game is your choices definitely matter. Like what route you take changes the story a lot. And it's not just like straight up historical fiction, 1872 fiction. It's sort of like, what if the drawings that you saw or like the inventions from the World's Fair around that time were made into real things? So there are like hover boats, robots, automatons of various sorts. And so it has a really great aesthetic that you're playing around in. And I think just like being able to go to all these countries gave them so much room to like explore these different little micro narratives. Like you can go up to the Arctic and hang out with people in the Arctic, or I'll never forget my original run of the game was like really chill for a while, and then I'm just gonna say a thing. I got sold into slavery. Yeah, I made some bad decisions. I spent a lot of money. And I found myself going from, I believe it was like Switzerland, and then I was stolen on a slave ship and brought to southern Africa, and I was separated from Monsieur Fogg for the entire rest of the game until the end when we reunited, and it was the saddest. Just in a game where your whole thing is like the day counter is going up, and it's like you need to do it by 80 days, like you guys got to do it together. Just the heartache of watching Passepartout slowly move north in Africa through a slave caravan. And then he reunites with Fogg, and they just look at each other like, hey, it's been a couple months. How's it going? It's like, oh my God, this game will mess you up. It's so good. I really recommend it. Again, it's on phones if you want. It's like $3. You can just play through it in an hour or two if you know what you're doing. So check it out, 80 Days. Now, John, what about you?
My Chatsum for this week. So let's see. We finally have gotten to enjoy our lovely friends Penn and Teller on Babylon 5. And if you want to keep the party going, you can have the experience that I've been giving myself for the past few weeks. Check out Penn and Teller's Fool Us. Watch clips on YouTube. Watch episodes on CW Seed. Do that whole thing. It's delightful. I bought their masterclass, and I'm learning some tricks from it. And they talk about magic and what they think about magic, so you could do that. I've been listening to Penn Jillette's podcast, and it's, I'm getting all immersed in his libertarian mumbo jumbo again. And it's really fun to listen to somebody who is so clear-eyed about his beliefs, and yet who you feel is someone who has integrity, and yet you so strongly disagree with them about certain things. And also he just has a lot of cool show business stories. So I say check it out.
Yeah, I'm not always of the opinion of like you should listen to stuff that you don't agree with, but from what I've heard of his stuff, at least he seems mostly reasonable. He's not just a blowhard. It's not like I'm saying go out there and listen to Alex Jones. Like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't support that man. But at least with Penn Jillette, it's like, oh, okay, you've thought about this. You're not like just doing this for money or doing it for clout or anything. Like, you truly hold this truth to be self-evident.
Yeah, exactly.
Fun stuff, man. This was fun, and I want to say thank you, as always, to Magellan for being with me in the space.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you, dear listener, for listening to this episode of Chatzylon 5. Peace.